I'm really sorry, but I can't give you an answer to that. I can't say vomiting up some pre-prepared script that you'd memorised. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name's Connor. I'm currently a fourth year medical student at King's College London. It's currently November, which means just one thing for aspiring medical students. That means it's medical interview season. If you have applied for medicine, hopefully you should be hearing back from your universities in the next few weeks to hear about whether you've got an interview or not. Often places might give you between a week and a month's notice. Obviously things might be a little bit disrupted this year. We're not too sure about whether universities might be doing something a bit different about their interview offers. But one thing's for certain, and that's that any interviews in the next 4 weeks are going to have to be online. I know there's probably a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion every year from anyone applying to medical school, but this year especially with all of the changes that are happening for everyone. And medical applicants are definitely just as affected, if not affected more. I posted a story on my Instagram recently asking if anyone had any questions about the medical interview process. And today I've gathered the 5 most common questions that were asked, and we're going to go through and answer those. If you are someone who's applied for medicine this year, or you're thinking of applying for medicine in the future, make sure subscribe to the channel. There's going to be tons of content for you guys coming soon. One of the most common questions asked by people was, what are the best resources that you should be using? We'll talk about video resources, written text resources, or paid resources. The first two are all free, the last one is paid. The best video resources are, of course, found on YouTube here, and there are tons of really good channels, mostly run by medical students like myself, who have some fantastic videos to help you guys out. There's lots of these Q&A or FAQ style videos where people will go through some tips or tricks, different resources, just like this video will. There's also lots of videos where people have gone through very, very specific questions or question types. I think this year, the best videos I've seen, the best new videos I've seen from people, in my personal opinion, have come from Journey to Med and from Ollie Burton Med. So make sure you check those out. I'll put those in the description below. But the best resource, obviously, is this YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. So what about the best written online resources? So in the last few years, the Medic portal has really kind of become the powerhouse of the Medic blog, or the written content for medical students or people applying for medical school. And the written content on there is very good. I would definitely say go and read the free resources that they have available on there, the free tips and tricks, blogs, the different things about what you can do to prepare. But I wouldn't recommend paying for any of their stuff. If these courses that they do, these week or weekend courses, can cost you thousands of pounds and they don't guarantee anything. I think the only time that you should be using a paid resource like that is if you've actually run out of free resources. You've looked at every single YouTube video on medical interviews. You've done every single practice question you could find with a friend, and we'll get on to how you can prepare. And you've exhausted everything that you can do for free or very cheaply, then maybe you can think about paying for one of these courses. One of the main things is that when you're applying for medicine, every single medical school, although there are similarities, there are big differences. And you're applying for that medical school, especially at the interview stage. They want to know about why you are a good match for this medical school. And almost all interview courses are just too generic for that. They don't really give you that kind of one-on-one, personalized, tailored experience. And that brings me on to what I would recommend as the best paid for resources. And you can probably see where this is going. I don't recommend any paid for resources. I would say that if you're going to go for an interview course, a paid for interview course, choose a company where the people giving you the interview advice have at least gone through the interview process themselves, and almost definitely you should be trying to go for somewhere where people have teaching experience, whether that's experience tutoring, experience coaching interviews or medical applications. You want someone who's experienced. And thirdly, you could try and go for one of the offers and one of the things that are out there where they say that if you haven't got an interview or you don't successfully get an offer this year, then you get to go on the course for free the following year, because that's a really great deal. Lots of people ask me what my absolute #1 tip would be, and if I had to give one tip to anyone sitting a medical interview, it would be simple. Do not lie. Or with a more positive spin on it, I guess, be honest. Be genuine. Be yourself. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Don't make up anything. Just answer thoughtfully and truthfully. For example, if you're asked by the interviewer about your opinion, about an experience you had, about your motivations, don't just make something up. That's not to say that thinking on your feet isn't a desirable skill. Of course, being a quick thinker, being someone who can problem solve is a fantastic skill for any medical student and doctor. But that's not the same as lying. There are lots of ways that you can prepare an answer for a question, or at least you can prepare for the different ideas or the types of questions that might come up, whether or not you've prepared for the specific question that you get asked. If you haven't done that preparation and you're sitting there in the interview and they ask something and you're just thinking, I genuinely have no idea how to answer this question, don't just make something up. If you're asked about when you've shown leadership, don't make up something that you did where you were in some imaginary leadership position. It's perfectly fine to take a few seconds. So the interviewer asks you, please talk us through a time where you have demonstrated a leadership role. If you haven't got anything prepared for that question, then it's completely fine to take a few seconds and say, I'll just have a think about that. Or, that's a really interesting question, let me just have a quick think. Or, would you mind if I just take a second to get my thoughts in order before I give you an answer to that question? These are absolutely fine. It shows you're not just vomiting up some pre-prepared script that you'd memorized, and it shows that you're asked a difficult question that maybe you weren't aware you would be asked, and the cogs are turning and you're thinking about it, and that's what they want. Medical students are held to very high professional standards, the same as a doctor. And honesty and integrity are a very big part of that. Once you become a medical student, as I'm sure all of you will, you need to be able to demonstrate that you're honest, you have integrity, you take ownership of your mistakes, and that if you don't know something, you ask for help. If you're someone who in an interview makes something up completely, that doesn't demonstrate those very desirable characteristics. It's a good question. Lots of people ask this. What should I be doing to prepare? There's no formula, there's no law for how you should be preparing for an interview. And there are lots of different ways you can prepare for an interview. And I guess that makes it better in some ways, but also quite tricky, because how do you know what you should be doing? Well, first of all, if you're watching this video, if you're sitting on YouTube searching for medical interview advice, you're already doing the right thing. This is you preparing. Watching me, pressing the like button, subscribing to the channel, that's all you preparing for your interview. So keep it up, you're already doing it. So the first thing I think is pretty obvious. I would say you just kind of need to immerse yourself in the world of medical interviews. Watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, talk about it with your friends, discuss it with your teachers. And that's just the first thing. And it's just on your mind and you're thinking about it. The next best thing you should be doing is to start planning some answers to some very common questions. So these are the questions that I'm sure you probably thought about for your personal statement. These are questions which I'm sure you've already watched a YouTube video of someone else answering. So things like, why do you want to study medicine? Why medicine and not nursing? Show me a time when you demonstrated leadership. Show me a time when you demonstrated integrity. Why have you applied for this medical school? What do you think you can bring to the medical school apart from studying medicine? It's really good to start jotting down some ideas about how you're going to answer these questions. And the next couple of videos in this series are going to be me talking through my answers to these questions and how I would encourage you to be able to think about your answer to these questions. Thirdly, almost all, and definitely all in the next month, interviews that are taking place are going to be online. So start preparing, start practicing with friends and family and teachers online. It's so easy to do. Almost everyone will have a smartphone. You can FaceTime, WhatsApp video call, Facebook Messenger video call, Zoom with a friend. They could be in the room next door, they could be in their house, you can be in your house, it could be with a teacher at school, and ask each other questions, record your video, and then watch it back and take notes on what you think you did well, what you didn't do well. Lastly, once you know that you have an interview and you know you've got the date and the time, you can start to physically prepare. What are you going to wear? When are you going to have a breakfast that morning? Which room are you going to do the video interview in? Or if it happens to somehow be an in-person interview, how are you going to get there? These are the things that you might want to just leave to the last minute because you've got so much else going on. You've got A-levels and school and family. But these are the things where if they're not planned, when you come to the day, they're going to really stress you out and they're going to make it feel so much worse. And you're not just going to be able to concentrate and even enjoy the medical interview. Now, lots of you wanted to know one question that will definitely come up. And I'm really sorry, but I can't give you an answer to that. I can't say one question that you'll be asked by medical schools. I would say, if you have applied for 4 medical schools, like you should have, and if miraculously, or with a lot of luck or skill, you end up getting 4 interview offers, then I would say that at least one, and possibly all of the medical schools, are going to ask you a pretty important question. And that is, why do you want to study at this medical school? And I say that this is an important question because if you're someone who's got 4 interview offers, you can give the same answer to a lot of questions. Why you want to do medicine remains the same whether you're doing an interview at Cambridge, at Exeter, at Dundee, or at Cardiff. But why you want to study at that medical school is specific, and so you're going to have up to 4 different answers to that question. Now, you should have already got some answers to this question, really, because you chose those 4 medical schools to apply to. So you already do know why you want to apply to that medical school. So have a look back at your personal statement, have a think about why you applied for those ones on your UCAS form, and then start to kind of formulate an answer to these. Now, some common things that I would suggest you can think about and maybe talk about would be location, curriculum, the amount and how early on you get some clinical experience, the prestige of the university, some people find that very important to them. You can talk about the research opportunities. You can talk about whether you can or can't, or you have to intercalate, which is where you take a year off, often between 3rd and 4th year, to do a BSc in 1 year. You can talk about the options for intercalating that are available there. You can talk about the social life or the sports. The last question, which I think is probably the question on everyone's mind, is will interviews be different this year? And I can definitely answer this, it's yes, they're going to be very different. In previous years, medical school interviews happened in person. You would physically go there, you would sit down at your panel, or you would arrive and you would go around your MMI. This year, because of coronavirus, we have a month of lockdown that we've just started here in the UK. That's not going to be the case. Medical schools are not going to be allowed to, and they're not going to want to. If you're looking for specific ideas and tips on how to get ready for an online medical interview and how that might be different, there's definitely going to be a video coming out in a couple of weeks about that. And in the meantime, I would definitely recommend the Journey to Med video. I think it was Lydia that did a really good video on how you can prepare for an online interview. Good luck to everyone. If you haven't heard from medical schools yet about whether you have an interview or don't have an interview, don't worry. In this case, no news is good news. Try and keep positive in these very hard times. As I said, if you are someone who's applying to medicine this year, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell, and you'll definitely know when there's another video. I'm planning a whole series of medical interview videos, and if there's something specific that you'd like to see, please leave a comment below.